Row 18, plot 20.
Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I just watched a movie called Candyland. It's technically a 2022 film, but it was released in the US on January 6th, 2023. So I leave it up to you to debate what constitutes the release date. So it's officially on IMDb and other sites listed as 2022, so I guess that's what we'll go with. But in the US, it wasn't released until 2023. It's 93 minutes. It gets a 5.1 star rating on IMDb. It is a TVMA rating, so it's for mature audiences. And I enjoyed this film. I'm going to say that right off the bat. There's a lot of religious undertones to it, but it's not a religious movie. The motivations behind the killing, the killer, the murderer is religious, of course. And so I can appreciate those. I'm not a religious person, but I can appreciate that. I do want to start off, I like to give trigger warnings for sensitive subject matter, and in this particular case, there is a rape scene. That's a violent rape scene in this movie, so if that will trigger you or anything like that, just be aware of that going in. But the movie is about a seemingly naive and devout young woman finds her way in the underground world of truck stop sex workers, a.k.a. lot lizards. That had me right there, had me hooked when I read sex workers, lot lizards. Written and directed by John Swab. Excuse me. Let's list down our cast. Remy is played by Olivia Lucardi. Sadie Sam Quarantin. Riley Eden Brolin. Owen Campbell plays Levi, and he is also a lot lizard. Virginia Rand plays Liv. Genevieve Turner Nora, and we have a Baldwin in the movie. William Baldwin plays Sheriff Rex, and Sheriff Rex is kind of a complex character, and I actually enjoyed William Baldwin's portrayal of him. So after I watched the movie, I didn't see the trailer, I didn't read any synopsises. I often just go in blind, but then I did read on IMDb, and one of the reviews was trying to compare it to the movie X, and I don't think that that's a fair comparison. I think that this movie stands alone. It's definitely different than X. X is on a whole different level. Like, to compare this to X is not a fair comparison. With that said, this movie just starts right out with a bang, and literally with a bang. Like, you get a full-on lot lizard sex scene right off the rip, and crazy nudity, sex, frontal, vaginal nudity, to the point where I actually paused to make sure that this was a horror movie, because I really thought, I'm not feeling horror or thriller in this. And right where I paused is right about when the horror and thriller elements started to kick in. So if I had just let it go for just a couple more minutes, I would have realized, yes, I am watching a horror movie with thriller, or a thriller with horror elements. One of the first horrific scenes, though, is a shower scene. The girl has hair in her pits, and that is horrifying to me. Ugh. I hate it. I hate hairy pits on women. It just makes me think of the French. But yeah. So I'm going to read a lot off of my notes, because I did take a lot of notes, but I was very into the movie. So the movie is basically this little group of like 4 or 5 lot lizards. There is a religious cult, I guess, church, van that pulls up at the beginning of the movie after like all that gratuitous nudity and sex, and you know, they're spreading the gospel and everything. And in the van is a young woman named Remy. The van drives off after one of the lot lizards flashes the guy her vajayjay, and also all of us, like it's a full on like psh, right there in your face. Whoop. And so then like the next night, that girl shows up at the motel, which is a famous motel, by the way. Let me segue for just a second and find the Lazy J Motel. It also appears in the 1998 film The Horse Whisperer. Yeah, so go figure. Who's in the Horse Whisperer? Oh, never heard of it. Just kidding, I've heard of it. So anyways, so the story is kind of like a two-part thing. Like we have these murderers going on, serial killings, and we also have Remy's transition from this church group to this lot lizard group who, you know, they all take her under their wing and try to like, and Remy's willing to do this. She's a willing participant in becoming part of that lifestyle. There's an interesting montage scene, and at first I thought it was out of place, but in hindsight it does kind of work. But while Remy's being transitioned into this lifestyle, the group gives her the lot rules, which are pretty interesting. And the way they segue into each rule, and then they kind of show a clip of that happening, and then back and forth. And it's pretty funny. I'm curious how one goes about researching the lot rules, and if there's a sequel, how can I participate in that study of the rules regarding what you can and can't do with the lot lizards. So then progression a little bit, you know, there's murder. I'm trying to stay spoiler free. Remy's ready to have her first encounter. So I guess the mother, I don't know, like the den mom, or I don't know what they call that person, Nora, the coordinator of things. She kind of sets up Remy with her first client, and it happens to be a priest. So that was interesting. And that scene is creepy as F. When you see this priest, you automatically get like creepy vibes. And then what he does, it's just gross and creepy, but it was great. And then they have a happy V-Day celebration for Remy for losing her virginity. Her big V is gone. She popped her cherry, and they have a little cupcake celebration. Yeah, and then, you know, the story progresses. There's more murders, more serial killings, and we see Remy's relationship growing with other characters, and the one male character and her seem to kind of be hitting it off a little bit, so we get to see that progress a little bit. The sheriff does say, William Baldwin has one of the best lines in the movie, in my opinion. He says, and I hope this doesn't spoil the movie for you, but he says, "I bet dollars to donuts." And I just love that saying, and I haven't heard it in so long that I actually chuckled. I was like, oh my God, I love that. So this movie is also, I should have led with this, but it's a Christmas movie. Even though it's, I don't know where this is supposed to be. It was filmed in Montana, Bozeman, Montana. So there's no snow, but there's little Christmas trees in the motel rooms. And all throughout the movie, there's sprinklings of Christmas music that actually line up pretty well with the words to the scene. I thought that was pretty well done. But yeah, this would be considered a Christmas movie, I suspect. So the cult guy comes back to let Remy know that the group is leaving and they want her to come back and go with them. She has like a day to decide. So she's struggling with that, and then the murders are still going on, so everybody's like stressed out, and some of them aren't even around anymore. And then it just amps up. It's just like full on murder fest. Oh, Santa shows up. Santa comes to have his pipe cleaned, so to speak, and it was interesting to see Santa show up, and that was kind of fun. And there's kind of a twisty end. The killer is revealed relatively early in the film. Like, you meet all these characters, and other than a few clients, the cast is pretty small. So the movie isn't intended to hide who the killer is, but it's that narrowing down the field of who's left, and then how the final reveal. And then there's a twisty end that I didn't really expect. I was kind of watching, like, kind of anticipating who was going to be next. The first half of the movie, I was more watching when is going to be the next set of boobs I see, or the JJ, and maybe if somebody gets killed, and then you work yourself out of that, and it's a who's next to be killed kind of a thing, you know? And so you're kind of led down that path, and it worked really well for me. I don't know if it does for everybody. I don't mind, like, the ridiculous amount of sex and nudity in movies, but it was kind of in context to the story as well. It wasn't like an out-of-place nude scene that was just cut in for the sake of a nude scene, if that makes sense, like a lot of other low-budgety asylum movies would do, or Full Moon for that matter. But it does have a twisty end. Again, the music and song choices are good. Outside of the Christmas music, there's also regular songs that are recognizable, that fit the scenes really well. So at any rate, I would recommend searching this out. I think you can rent it on Amazon, maybe Vudu and Apple, I think. I can't remember the other ones. But the number one takeaway is that for 40 extra bucks, you can go bareback.
So have your dream. Go on and sing your song. There's nothing wrong with singing out of tune. If people laugh and say your dream can never be, just think of